I'm doing business and I'm helping others at the same time. Because if you look at everything I've been doing, basically, it's the same story, di ba?
Welcome to Hustleshare, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Pyong.
Welcome to another episode of the Hustleshare podcast. My name is Ronster, and we are now at episode 6. As we're recording this, we're literally just around 9 days old, and things are looking pretty good. So if you're new to the show, thanks for tuning in. If you want to know what this is, basically, Hustleshare is a podcast that lets you improve your hustle by listening to other hustlers. I know that sounds cliche to you, but hustle is a very universal term, right? And what we're doing here in this podcast is we want to be able to share our journeys, not our successes, so that we feel empathetic towards each other's journey. So whatever profession you have, whatever thing that you're doing, whatever grind, the goal of this podcast is to share empathy and to shed some light on how we can actually improve our own daily grind by living in, or at least listening to, somebody else's struggles and challenges. And in this episode, it's very interesting because for the first time, we actually have a celebrity on board. And he's not just a celebrity because he's also a serial entrepreneur. And what we're going to be discussing in this episode is how is it like to be in the shoes of one. And today, this guy that we're going to be talking about is a man of many hats. And without further ado, his name is RJ Ledesma. If you've never heard of him, if you were born in the 80s, you probably recognize him in the Royal True Orange commercials as Joey. But he's come across and matured since that. In this episode, he's going to be discussing his journey from how he became Joey and how he was prepared to be an entrepreneur for life by his parents, and how he was able to progress from being a child star to literally someone who went through MIT, and how he was able to found the most, his baby per se actually. It's Mercato Centrale, the night market that we all come to love here in the Philippines. He's also going to be discussing how he manages through 3 new businesses that he already has at the same time, and how he does that while also doing a full-time hosting gig on the side. And lastly, stick around till the end of the show because RJ dropped a bomb for everybody else. I didn't expect that to happen, to be honest, but he has a very special surprise. So if you want to learn more about RJ's hustle, let's begin the episode right now. Welcome to the Hustleshare podcast. This is now episode 6. Time is flying so fast, I can't even keep up. And then, but you know what? I see the trend. A lot of people are listening. If you're new to the show, welcome. And today we have a very special guest because I didn't expect, again, that these people are going to say yes to me this early. And this guy has the Midas touch. And it's weird because most of the time, it's him doing this to me and now I'm doing this to him.
That sounds kind of fun, huh?
Okay.
The implication of what you're trying to say, huh?
No. It's no. Without further ado, we got RJ Ledesma.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on your show, Ron. I really appreciate being here. And just like you said, I'm pretty impressed by yourself as well because, you know what, just to give you a bit of a background, I first met Ron on my show Bright Ideas, which comes out on Bloomberg and now One News. And I met him on his initial startup, which was Party File.
Yep.
And eventually, I interviewed him again. In fact, I was the one who insisted that we interview him again when he finally put up Chatbot, because I really wanted to feature that story of what it's like to be in a startup and it failing spectacularly.
Yes.
But then coming back again like the Phoenix. So
you're actually the first one to message me after I announced that I already officially acquired.
Yeah, that's why. And I thought it was a great story, and that's really, it shows a lot of grit, and it's something that on the show I felt that it needed to be communicated to other people, that if they can see that this is possible, that's okay, because many of us, especially Filipinos, have this sort of like
We don't like failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the failure mentality is such that if you fail, people want you to feel that you failed.
Correct.
They parang it's a they can't see you wearing failure as a badge of honor
No,
or
no.
something that you learn from. And always I like I go to this thing called Power Mornings, which is actually
Power
run by the
Mornings.
Feast by Brother Bo.
Wow.
And one time, Father Bob McConaughey, who's one of
Yeah.
the Feast spiritual advisors, he said something really nice. He said something that, there was one time that the president wasn't saying something too nice about the Catholic faith, but he said instead of looking at it as an opportunity where you feel bad about it, it's really a
Right.
teachable moment. What can you learn from this? And
True.
that's what I saw from your own experience. That
Thank you.
what can we learn from what happened? And when you said earlier on that everything I touches turns to gold. I mean,
Right.
that's just the PR release. I mean, I've failed many times in life. In fact,
Yeah.
for people who've actually seen my talk, it's really a talk about the failure in my
Right,
own life
right.
and my own experiences where I didn't do well and what I gained from it. And number one is that it's wearing failure like it's a badge of honor, talking about it like it's okay, and also at the same time asking myself, what did I learn from this? Instead of
Correct.
feeling bad for myself, I failed
Yeah.
again, and make it part. It's not your it's just your ego, diba?
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's okay. You feel bad. That's being human. But after that, you go, okay, what did I learn from this one? What can I do next? Because
Right.
you just have to pick yourself up. Because if you don't, then that's really it.
But it's easier said than done, and that's what we wanted to learn in this episode, starting from the very start of how you kind of felt like you're born to grind and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
But you've been the routes coming from Joey to you writing books and all that, and what's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So RJ, walk us through first things first. Let's do what's your hustle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Currently, you're wearing a lot of hats, and I can't imagine being in your thing because you always have you're always on the go, and for some reason you always feel like you never look tired. You never look. How's your current grind so far?
Okay, so I wear many hats. Like I say,
Okay.
I wish I had just as many heads.
Okay.
And I can't say that I can juggle them all very well, but I try to. It's just that over the years I built some specific skill sets, and sometimes it's easy for me. Like when it comes to me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a
Right.
serial entrepreneur.
Yep.
And entrepreneurship for me, a lot of the entrepreneurship that I did is olaway, diba? That's my capital, and for me it was communication basically, which was both from a writing standpoint and also from a speaking standpoint. So that's just a bit of a background. And then I get to use all these skill sets, and I'm very glad that I'm able to God gave me these skill sets that I've been able to use. But basically, the first thing I do is Mercato.
Mercato.
Mercato. I co-founded Mercato with my wife together with my former partners.
Yep.
And right now, Mercato is, I think, one of the largest night food markets in the country. And
It is,
also
yeah.
a food market or a food business incubator, and I can explain a bit more about that later on.
Sure.
On top of that one, I also put up another business called Enter PH.
Enter, right?
Enter
Yes.
PH. And Enter PH it's a one-stop shop consultancy firm that helps foreign businesses set up
Yes.
shop in the Philippines. On top of that one, what I also do in terms of business is I just recently set up another one called Easy Franchise.
Easy
Easy
Franchise. Yeah,
Easy
you're wearing a
Franchise.
shirt at the moment.
Yeah.
And what's Easy
Easy
Franchise?
Franchise, it's a platform. Right now, it's a digital platform that connects franchisors to franchisees.
Wow.
And I put it up together with, funnily enough, with people I also met on my show,
Yeah,
Bright Ideas.
yeah.
So one of my partners here is Anton Ojeda, who was the former country manager of Zomato.
Oh,
And the other
okay.
one is Joe Magsaysay, or Joe Mag.
Jomag,
put in the
right,
corner.
right.
So it kind of makes a lot of sense that we put the business together.
Yeah.
And, and that's what we do. So aside from that one, I still continue to host. I've been a
Yep.
professional host for many, many years. Even
An
as a
award-winning
child.
host, not
Award-winning
just a host.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I've hosted for many, many years. I do the spectrum of many different events. From people know me. People nowadays know me as a wedding host, but I do moderation, hosting for lifestyle or business events or award ceremonies. I've won 3 Aliw Awards for that
Aliw
one. Yeah,
Award.
and that qualifies me this year to get the Hall of Fame award.
Yeah, you need to like
for hosting.
graduate because everybody needs to get their chance because like every year it's a given that RJ's nominated.
And
You're gonna win that
It's
again.
very thankful. I mean, I just really built a specific skill set when it
Yeah.
came to hosting. And aside from that, well, a couple of years ago, although I can't manage it anymore because I've got it's hard raising kids. Is that I used to be an editor-in-chief of a magazine. I actually took over I was the editor-in-chief of Manual Magazine. That's a late lamented magazine which I used to run for Mega Publishing. After that one, I became the editor-in-chief of Uno Magazine.
Uno, right? I remember,
for
right.
Uno magazine
A
as
couple
well.
of
And for many years, for about 10 years, I was a columnist for the Philippine Star. I was a humor columnist. And that's something I really loved writing. I really loved writing. And
Communication really is
Yeah.
it's like the
It was
center
there,
always.
yeah. And the thing is, the reason I had to give it up is because my wife saw how much. I mean, among all my different jobs, that was the one I was
Course.
putting the most effort into because
Course.
that doesn't it create. I was not just a regular writer. I was a creative writer. I was a humor
Yeah,
writer,
yeah.
and that took a lot of creative thinking. So it occupies the business part of your brain for me.
Yes,
So
it's hard to switch.
it's hard, yeah, and if I did, let's say I could only write during the weekends. So
Yes.
and right now, the weekends as I got older,
Family
or as
time.
my kids got as I was raising my kids and they got older, I had to spend more quality time with the kids, and I was also hosting many events during the weekend.
Correct.
So something had to give way. But during that time, I was very blessed enough that I was able to compile my columns into books. So I had six books which came out of
I
that
saw one. I was like meandering through a national
Yeah.
bookstore. I was like, hey, I know this guy.
Yeah, so
Why is he half naked?
Yeah, I was a humor writer, so that's what I like to do a lot.
Right.
And I really, because I was a marketing guy, so I said, how do I develop a unique selling proposition when it comes to writing? And for me, the humor really started coming out, and so I developed 6 books from that one.
Right.
Thankfully they were best selling books because my mom bought most of those books. But aside from that one, I also from those books, 3 of them were actually National Book Awards finalists. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And I was actually in 2014 or I think 2014. I was actually a UP National Writers Fellow, which for me was quite a big thing for me because back in about 1996, I actually applied and didn't get in. And so it took me several years, many years, about almost two decades.
But
to
it went
finally-
full circle eventually.
to
Right.
finally get the UP National Writers,
Nice.
become a UP National Writers Fellow.
Yeah.
And so those are many of the things I used to do.
Yeah.
And then up to now, well, I also serve as the honorary consul of Monaco to the
Yes,
Philippines.
and currently, again, thank you for inviting me. I'm luckily, I don't know how many people you invited over here.
Yeah,
but
thanks for coming over
I'm
to
at
my
a consulate.
to
We're
my
recording this.
Monaco Cave where my man came over here. So that means that as an honorary consul, it just means
Right.
that there are some countries which by their diplomatic strategy they don't
Yeah.
really send ambassadors abroad.
Got it.
Because they're too small to actually send a lot of ambassadors abroad. So they actually choose specific people from those countries to represent them
Got
over
it.
there. So I represent the Principality of Monaco.
Monaco,
here in the
one of
Philippines.
the most richest countries in the world.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, it's like boats. I remember the only time I got in like put into what Monaco is in Gran Turismo. But
Yeah.
when I was a kid, like, there's Monaco, that's where all the boats are and all that, that. So let's just track back. So obviously you just blew us away. You're probably the most like accomplished in terms of how many hats in our early life here in Hustleshare. Like that's crazy. But RJ, how did this all start? You said you had a passion for communication and whatnot.
Well, yeah. So maybe let's step back a bit now. Before I get into that one,
Okay.
the thing that I wanted to discuss is that if you look at the type of businesses which I run, it might look like that it's a lot.
Yeah.
But really, there's a couple of things that I want to share with some people as to how I see business. First
Okay.
of all, it's that the business is always about addressing pain points.
Of
right?
course.
So, and we know that one from
Problem,
being
solution,
startups.
right.
It's like, what is the problem that you see, or what is the pain point that you're trying to solve?
right.
So, or what I say in most of my talks is that what is the irritation that leads to inspiration? And aside from that one, the other thing which I also say is that how do you, if you see the theme across my businesses is that aside from solving problems, it's also how do you build sort of like an ecosystem around it, or
Yes.
thematic ecosystem behind it. Because
Correct.
if you look at my businesses, they're
It's
all
not a standalone.
They, they all kind of they all thematically they all make sense together. Like
Makes sense, yeah.
how I'm building Mercato is that we're building an ecosystem
Yeah.
of suppliers to help grow these small food businesses.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Enter PH, it's the same way we're building an ecosystem to help support the growth of these foreign SMEs coming to
Yes,
the country.
yes,
If
yes.
you look into the ecosystem of Easy Franchise, it's the same,
Same,
thing.
yeah.
You're sort of building ecosystems which can work together. So sometimes when I meet people, I can bring both my card for Mercato and Easy Franchise, but they make sense together.
Still hit two birds in one stone.
They still make
Okay.
sense together. And the other thing which I find is that which I want to share is that
Right.
is that sometimes I've learned that you bring in innovation.
Sure.
How does innovation occur, especially when it comes to doing business? Innovation occurs sometimes when you just need to look at examples from other industries and then
Yeah.
bring them into your own industry. So, for example,
Make it work for you.
make it work for you. So,
Yeah.
for example, for Mercato, originally, it was just a food market, and we're trying to look for models outside of how to grow it, And I realized, what I learned from doing my show Bright Ideas is that I started seeing how startup companies were being run, and I saw that startup companies were coming from, let's say, for example, they grew the fastest in accelerators or incubators. And I
Yes.
said, how come there's no equivalent for an
For food.
accelerator or incubator in the food market, in this food
Makes
business world? So
sense.
I sort of took that model and tried to appreciate it and bring that into
Right.
my business, into our business. Diba?
Right.
So I borrowed that model and I used that innovation to create what I have here right now. So
Wow.
Mercato right now is not really just a food market. It's really a food business incubator where we find businesses that are good and then
You
we
curate
scale
them,
Yeah,
right?
we scale them, we improve them, we scale them, we find investors for them,
Yeah.
and then we ship them out to make
Yeah.
them bigger. So that's what I saw.
Yeah.
So similarly, what I often tell people is that one of the great things I learned from doing Bright Ideas is that about innovation is that when I came across the Eatigo business model.
Eatigo, right.
Because when you look at Eatigo, what I noticed is that they told us na how did you come up with your model? Because you don't have coupons, diba? Usually when you do this type
Yeah.
of discounts, you get coupons. And for Eatigo, they just said, no, you get almost up to 50% off on everything, food
Straight
and
up,
drinks.
right.
So what's your business model? And he was saying, this guy was an economist, and he was saying, this is how I think of it. If you have a hotel room that is vacant for one night,
Yeah.
you're losing
You
money.
lose money, right? Because you're not
If
fully
you-
occupied.
Yeah, if you have an airline, if you're an airplane that takes off without a passenger,
Yeah.
you're losing money. So why don't you just cut the rates of that one so people can use it? So that's why you cut the rates, right? So people
Yeah.
can board the plane or occupy the room. Why don't you do the same thing in restaurant businesses where, let's say, there's a low time between 2 to 3 p.m. and nobody's eating there? Aren't you losing money as well?
True.
You are.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, then let's just cut the prices. At least you're
Yes.
bringing people in, and that's brilliant. But that's innovation, taking something from outside your industry
Yeah.
and bring it into your industry.
Correct.
And the last thing that I've also learned about the idea of doing great business is the
Yeah.
idea of asymmetric information, which is
Asymmetric information,
which
which
basically
is
you know something. There's something that only you know, and where you can gather information together.
Okay.
And if you put that information together
Okay.
and make other people, you sort of like you build the overpasses to get to you, but you control the tollway for that one.
Yes.
And when you control the information for something, that's basically how you make money in digital marketing nowadays.
correct. Aggregate and
you
then
aggregate,
boom.
diba? You
Right.
aggregate, and that's what we did for Easy Franchise.
Wow.
Right now, diba? It's like, and I learned that model. Basically, I was talking to Anton of
yeah.
Zomato because
Right.
before, let's say, Zomato really came up, how would you know which is a good restaurant to eat
No,
in? It was
no,
a word of
right.
mouth thing, so you couldn't tell. But right now, there's an objective site where people can rate
Right.
places. Rate the food. And
Now they even
everything
give you
else.
discounts.
And discounts.
Zomato Gold,
But,
right.
but the basic model was just
Right.
to aggregate everybody
Correct.
and put the information out there.
Yeah.
And people go there. Then you get listed. But if you
Right.
want to if you want your restaurant to go up or to get more notice, you pay You pay
Yes.
subscription or
Premium.
advertising
That's a
fee,
premium,
diba?
right.
So that's sort of like your tollway.
Okay.
And that's the same logic that he used when he put up beep.ph, which is
Beep, right.
Before, you wouldn't know how many talyeres there were in the Philippines. Even he didn't know.
Yeah.
It's only when he put it up and you put them all that information
Boom.
together that he found that there were 7,000 talyeres
Correct.
in
Wow.
the Philippines. And he saw that opportunity which arose from there.
Yeah.
And therefore, BP was doing very good. And because he put that site up and he was able to aggregate information, there's rich data which you gathered from that. And the data they found out was that, people needed drivers on demand. So that's why, it's another way to look at ride hailing. It's like,
Right.
I've got a car, but I don't want to drive.
I don't want to drive.
I don't want to drive. So you
Right.
put together drivers on demand.
Yes.
So very interesting things that you learn. As you put businesses together. So these sort of things are what drive my philosophy nowadays when it comes to business. It's
Wow.
pain points. It's taking business models from other businesses.
Yeah, and you're
bring it
exposed to
there.
this on a daily, weekly basis
Well,
now,
yeah,
right?
hopefully doing the show. That's why for me
True.
I like doing the show. And at the same time, the last one is of course asymmetric information. Now stepping back and doing other things. So let's talk about communication. So really, even at a young age, I was really somebody who liked to both write and talk. I mean,
Yeah.
I was thankfully trained in an entrepreneurial environment. My
Got
parents were
it.
entrepreneurs as well. My dad was in prawn farming, encyclopedia selling,
Wow.
videotape rental.
How did you get into the Joey role?
I was doing a lot of acting at the time. I was raised. I was actually doing a lot of those what you call elocution contests, mga talumpatian when I was grade school. So a lot of training over there. Then eventually I joined Repertory Philippines when I was about 13 years old.
Wow.
With their workshops. And then I was in some of their straight plays, no, not musicals, the straight plays.
Wow.
And then from there, I had this bit of theatrical training and background, and we were asked to audition for the commercial.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they needed somebody who had that sort of training.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it exposed me at a very young age. It taught me many things because you're at such a young age, you're exposed to all these different
Yeah, and
things, and it's quite a lot of sensory input at that time.
True.
And a little fact.
Very crucial, especially I would guess for your confidence.
Confidence and also how to manage, because simply you get mayabang at that age because you don't know how to handle it. But the things
Right,
you learn,
right.
then it teaches you how to learn. So it gives you a different perspective about life. And the nice thing also is that I had the opportunity to be directed by some of the best directors in the country, film directors. Lino Broca was my first director.
Wow.
Ismael Bernal.
Shoot.
Peke Gallaga and Lori Reyes. And
These
then
are in the annals of Philippine cinema.
Yeah, and the last one was Jun Urbano, who's Mr. Shuli. So it was really great training for me at the time to do those commercials and to get exposed and to understand these things and so that was great and from there that's where I got exposed and then but because I also love talking, I did a lot of extemporaneous public speaking when I was high school.
You're really built for this
Yeah.
from a young age.
But eventually, what happened was that in college, I did a lot of competitive varsity debating, and that's what
Debate.
which really trained my thinking. We were one of the first who actually started doing this, what you call parliamentary debating.
Okay.
Back in about 1993, 94. So
Wow.
I went a bit to Australia. I've been to
It's funny because
Princeton, New
in our
Jersey.
second episode, one of our first guests as well, Iba Bernardo.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
together in debate.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he said that you can't in a debating family.
Yeah.
You can't really just put your way in if you don't have a logical argument.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's the same as well?
So me and Iba were actually in the same. At that time I trained Iba for debate.
Oh wow! Okay.
So and he joined the debating team, which I kind
Sure.
of had to put together, cobble up together because it was a new debating style which we trained in, and that really helped me a lot in my thinking process, in my logic, in my giving speeches and being funny. Because first of all, it trained me how to think very
Right.
quick on my feet and also
Fast.
to structure things in my head when I deliver presentations.
Yeah.
And then, so that was very good for me. Over years, it developed my style, and it also
Yes.
it informed the way that I wrote as well. It informed the way that I host as well.
It just
But
comes naturally, like second nature
eventually
for you.
came second nature. But
Yeah.
at the same time, what I also learned and how it informed my writing, how debate informed my writing was
Okay.
that I got exposed to different styles of debating. For example, because if you're from the Philippines, you like this melodramatic type of debating.
Da, 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 da.
Where
Yeah, right.
you're
Right.
boastful or you're gesticulating or you're arguing all the time.
Yeah.
But I got exposed to people like from Ireland and from Australia where
Right.
they would make a joke or they would but the joke would make the point. So I was going, so there are other ways to make your point, and it doesn't always have to be like you're so serious or you're so angry all the time or so dramatic, because that's what we were used to. So that sort of affected how I was able to move forward and
So yeah,
argue.
thanks for that, RJ. We'll just take a quick break. We'll be
Yeah.
back after this to talk about your current journey and how you take it from debating to your very first venture and
Yeah,
how we
sure.
develop that. More of that after the break. Hey, do you guys like what you're hearing so far? If you do, please don't forget to show us some love and subscribe to Hustleshare on your favorite podcast app. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all the other major podcast apps. Also, if you want to get in touch with us and suggest the next hustlers you want to hear in the show, please do message us on our chatbot on Messenger. Just search Hustleshare or go to m.me/Hustleshare, powered by ChatbotPH. And lastly, if you want to know more about the details and resources we discussed during each episode, please go to our show notes at hustleshare.com. Cool? All right, back to the show. And we're back after the break. We're still with RJ Ledesma. I don't even know how to properly introduce you because we have so many. I'll say RJ Ledesma Mercato after this break, and I'll introduce you as something else in the next one. But okay, RJ. So you before the break, you mentioned about being in a debate team and you having to have that logical background, and that helped you through all this journey since you were a kid. What was your very first venture into business, and how did you realize you wanted to do business?
No, I've always been trained, I think even from a young age, to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
You know, when my dad had a video rental business, they asked me to not only put my own money in,
Okay.
even as a young boy, but even to participate and help out in the business. You know, to help in the store. So I was there, and if I like comic books, so they said, why don't you sell comic books out of the store?
Nice.
Diba? So there's always been that sort of entrepreneurial mindset of
Okay.
where can you create a business, and that's always been there. And so I kind of carried that with whatever I did. So
Nice.
if I did public speaking, where does the entrepreneurial mindset come in for public speaking or
It's like an
writing?
instinct that kicks
Yeah,
in.
it kind of kicks in, and kumbaga, it's invasive. It
Yeah.
operates in all
It
parts
just
of
comes
your life.
out.
Oh, it just comes
Right.
out.
Right.
So for me, I actually, my original objective was that I just to give you a bit of background.
Right.
After college, I worked. I joined Procter and Gamble. I was a
P&G,
brand manager
okay.
for Procter and Gamble because I thought that was a very great training to have. It's like
Yeah, and
it's a great.
a lot of management trainees from that point, or look at them now, like it's boom, they all come from the same.
And many of the people in prominent companies right now
Yeah.
were my former bosses.
Right.
And so it was a great way for me to get a strong foundation, not only in marketing, but also in management, because it's like you're running a brand like it was your own business.
Yeah.
And then after that one, I left to take my master's abroad.
Oh,
And,
MIT.
My family business kasi is real estate development. So I
Okay.
pursued a master's in real estate development
Okay.
in MIT.
And by the way, this is like the episode, 2 episodes before this. We're talking about someone who went to the States to Earl. Apparently, he went to BU. So again, I
we were
really
neighbors. Yeah, we were
Oh
neighbors.
my God.
So
Right.
so I went there, and the thing is, hoping to come back and hoping to at least work in the States for a bit before coming back
Yeah.
home. But then when I went to the States and the year that I graduated was 2001.
Wow.
Which was 9/11.
Yes.
And when 9/11 happened,
Totally different game.
Not only did the economy in the States, the bubble economy in the States burst, but also it was very difficult now for foreigners to find jobs, especially in the wake of 9/11.
It's
So
just
came back home, and
domino effect,
then
right?
worked first for my dad, because real estate, of course, is my
Okay.
first love. But it was at the time it was also struggling, emerging
Yeah.
from the Asian economic crisis at
Yeah.
the time. And
Just tough times. Yeah, early 2000s.
and I had to find other things to do. And eventually, one of the first things that I did was that I love doing TV work.
Yes.
After a short time right after I resigned from Procter and Gamble, before I went to the States, I was actually doing work for ABS-CBN. I was on Alas 5:30.
Yes,
weekends.
yes.
And I would have gone on their daily show, but eventually I had to fly to this. I got into MIT, of course. I took that
Of course.
opportunity. Came back here, and that opportunity to do I wanted to go back to doing TV work for them,
course.
but the slots were filled.
Yeah.
So I produced my own TV show. which is called The Men's Room.
The
Together with my
Men's Room in Studio 23.
Yeah, with
Right.
with my friend Philam, stand-up comedian Tim Tayag.
Tim.
So me and Tim, we just one day we just said, "Hey Tim, let's produce a show that's like the Man Show." Okay?
And that's why now I remember the book. It was very those sexual jokes and whatnot.
Yeah, so we put up
the
a
art of seduction. I think you were doing something like that. Right?
Is it hot in here or is it me? That was the name.
Yes, that's the book.
Playing with pink parts, or it only hurts when I pee. Those are the names of the book. So a lot, I picked up a lot of, Tim was using a lot of the stand-up humor that he gained from the States, and I thought we would make great parts because we had very different comedic styles, and we were very spontaneous. There was no need for us to
no. You don't write them down, right?
Have a script down there. So when we just produced that own show. We shot the show, and then I had to get we shot in Victoria Court.
Wow.
I had produced in Victoria Court. I asked for one of these Baybok beauties. What's ang pangalan to ulit?
Whatever the cheesy name was.
One of them was the one that we got, and then we produced the show. We went to Studio 23. We just gave whatever we produced, and they said, "Oh, can we order 13 episodes?" And we had to. That was one of my first experiences of doing my own thing, and that was fun.
Yeah,
we did about 2 seasons. Didn't really make money from it, but the interesting thing was that.
RJ, just a quick question on humor, because on a personal note, I like what I said. It's my X factor. I might like whatever. I'm very inappropriate in the way I do sales and whatnot, because at the end of the day, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm,
but I use humor a lot. Mm-hmm. For you, how big of that is a factor that you are a funny guy?
Okay, I think it's pretty, particularly for my skill set when it comes to doing hosting and moderating. It's key.
Yes.
Especially, it puts people at ease. Diba? It's psychologically, it's very difficult for you to get mad at somebody who can make you laugh. Although there are some exceptions to the rule, diba?
My girlfriend sometimes gets mad at me still, but
So that's why I keep my wife always in stitches. You never know. And that's why she married me. But the thing is, like, it helps you create a rapport with people when you're able to make them laugh. So
when you're likable.
Yeah. So that's why I when I do a wedding hosting, I often say that one of the things that gives me value added is that I'm able to warm up the crowd. I get more develop rapport because of the humor that I'm able to use with them, and so that's very key. I think
you don't sound robotic.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
It's a key skill, and knowing what makes people laugh and knowing yung kanilang kilites is key.
It's also timing.
Yeah, it's timing.
Yeah?
So a lot of these things I really learned from doing the show, from doing public speaking and debate. You pick up a lot of these things on the way, and I use that sort of humor also in my writing. So I'm one of I was able to translate it both into writing and also into speaking, which not many people are able to do.
It's hard.
It's hard. And I often tell people, there's a book called Comedy Writing Secrets, which I actually studied.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I actually taught humor writing. I had a whole presentation for humor writing. And what's important is that if you find something funny, the book often says, Comedy Writing Secrets says that they can teach you about jokes.
Right.
Teaching teaching a person how to tell a joke is like cutting open a frog. You figure out how the frog works, but it's not funny anymore, diba?
Yeah.
But you learn.
Yeah.
And what I would do is there's specific shows which I liked. So I would analyze, let's say for example, why do I find this show funny? What's that show again? The show, the improv show. What line is it? Whose line is it anyway?
Right.
There's certain comedians that I like.
Yes.
There's certain TV shows which I like The Family Guy or this other thing. So I step back and I say, okay, what did I like about it that made it funny? You look at the structure of it all. And if you're able to analyze the structure of what made it funny, then you take that one and you use that. You create your own
from that.
So that's what I learned a lot of the humor from, was taking from these structures and saying, so let me go.
You dissect it scientifically and literally.
But enough to get the feel. Like for example, I really liked a lot. I read a lot of comic books, and then there are two people I like a lot, and these are two English writers. It's Grant Morrison and it's also Warren Ellis.
Okay.
And there's specific ways that they used to write, like they had big ideas or the way the way that they introduce concepts. And I said, I like this a lot, and I will just take the structure of what they had and use it for humor writing, and I'll bring it over there. Or let's say, for example, I like I like Family Guy. Then also, if you see
Family
right now
Guy.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Yes.
there's a similarity in the humor. In
And they
terms of-
don't use old jokes. And what I like about 9 too is it's not defamatory towards people, and
Yeah.
that's what they always say. And they intentionally make that. Do not eventually it gets old and becomes harmful
Yeah.
joking.
and
right?
they know, and the reason is that because you take the structure of what they do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that it's an editing thing. But sometimes they
Yes.
cut to a previous memory. They cut to.
Correct.
And by writing, I would do that, but I would do that for writing.
Wow.
I would do
That's
that for
hard.
writing, yeah. Or for example, what you like about Brooklyn Nine-Nine is that the characters are very, very strong. You can predict. You can
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
hear what the characters are saying or what they're going to react to a specific situation.
Yeah.
So if you read my old columns, you would see that I would have characters in the columns. Like there's a dirty old man over here and a naive young boy over here,
Got
and you
it.
could practically hear them speaking to you. Like
Yeah.
if I was interviewing somebody, you could hear them speaking. You know that there's be a reaction, and you'd laugh because there's so many characters involved. So these are type of things that I've applied that also for business. You take the innovation is taking a structure from what you've seen somewhere else and then bring it to what you currently have.
Yeah.
So same thing for humor. I took what I learned from somewhere else and brought it into the humor, into the writing. So in business, you do the same thing. You take what you find interesting from somewhere else and you bring it into the current business that
Okay.
you're
So
running.
after showbiz, RJ, was it business for you? What was
Well,
it?
I never really got out of either one. You know?
Okay.
So it's just that that you peak in showbiz and then you don't necessarily as prominent as before. But what I like about hosting is that it's not necessarily that you're popular, but rather that you're consistent, that you're known for a specific type of hosting. Because if you look at it, I've been hosting for the past 14, 15 years. There are people who haven't hosted that long.
Yeah.
Or haven't been in the industry that long. What is your longevity or staying power? Because maybe they know me for a specific skill set when you do the hosting, that RJ is good at this type, or he's very consistent, he's very professional. He can deliver on the humor. He understands these specific things. So people keep getting you every year because they like
Every time, right.
they like what you're doing, and eventually that evolved. So from just hosting, it became moderating, meaning that people will like you because I had what other hosts could not do, which I had was that I had a business background.
Correct.
So-
And you actually ask sensible questions.
Yeah, and the questions come from my own background, from my own lens or perspective of being able to understand some. Because why I like doing these shows, because not just because I like doing the shows, but because I'm learning something at the same time.
And you're just doing it
It's like
naturally.
I have an audience, but these questions are actually my questions directed
correct.
at this specific person. So if you see me moderating some things or like interviewing people in my show, it's because I'm picking up something.
Just recording it and
along
whatnot,
the way, and then it just files in my memory bank.
Yes.
And eventually, people started getting me to speak as a motivational speaker because I had something to talk about. I had my background. I had something I could talk about entrepreneurship, and eventually I built my cred in entrepreneurship. So now that I eventually won the Outstanding Achievement in Entrepreneurship Award.
Congratulations!
from
I saw
the
that.
Award
Right,
Awards,
right.
for small scale, and it just has it technically just gives you more credibility in giving your talks and giving your speech, and you keep on doing them. So they started building not only credibility but an income stream or a new
Of course.
a new career.
The money
as
just
a
comes
speaker.
after as well.
Yeah, so it built a career for me as a speaker.
Okay.
But I don't only speak about entrepreneurship. I can speak now about maybe some team building or vision setting, because when I speak, it doesn't often come from me reading a book, but rather maybe the book is a jump off point, but it comes from my own life and my own life experience and comparing it versus what I've read, and these things are nice because it gives you more credibility when you speak.
Absolutely. Okay, now RJ will take another break real quick, but after the break, what we want to talk about is your hustle tips. You've been through a lot, and we want to know from an entrepreneur's point of view, in your eyes at least, being exposed to so many things, what are the things that we should be aware of? What are the hacks that you can share that a lot of people would learn from? More of that after the break.
Effective automation is the best way for businesses to stay competitive. And having a chatbot for your business lets you easily automate and optimize sales, marketing, and customer service in the digital age. Chatbot PH will build, train, maintain, and market your chatbot across all messaging platforms. Our team uses the latest AI technologies to enable you to better serve customers 24/7, 365. Set a meeting with us today. Message us now at m.me/chatbotph.
And we're back for the last part of this episode with RJ Ledesma. RJ, in this last part, what I want to know is what's your tips? You've been exposed to so many types of entrepreneurs, businesses, and whatnot. We can take this on for another full hour, and we won't have enough time. But let's put it in three main buckets because I know you can say a lot of wisdom and whatnot. So if you guys are there, pick up a pen because I know you're gonna learn a lot from RJ in this one. RJ, quick question. First one is, what is your tip in terms of time management? You're very busy. You do so many things. How would you say what's your advice in terms of maximizing time and allocating time? Because sometimes it's not really enough to just put as much time as possible. It's all about quality over quantity, right?
Oh, so well for me, the scheduling is pretty key, and just to say that when I say schedule is pretty key, let me just discuss my schedule for you every day because what comes in for me every day is I'll get emails about, let's say, RJ, can you host?
Yep.
Then there's from the hosting, there's also business meetings.
Yep.
Which I call for and which somebody calls on me.
Yeah.
Right. And I still have to meet my staff. I still have to meet my team.
Yep.
I have to exercise.
Yep.
And spend time with the family. So I mean, these are all the different things that come into play. And I wouldn't have been able to manage that if I wasn't an entrepreneur who could control my own time.
Yes.
So the bigger thing is, well, let's step back a bit. The bigger thing is that I see myself as a serial entrepreneur and a generalist.
A generalist.
So parang for me, and this is just me, and this is not everybody.
Sure,
when I see myself as a generalist, parang I know my strength. My strength is that I need to take a step back. I cannot be tied down to a specific position and you make me run it like, okay,
correct.
Only marketing. Because if you do, or operations, it limits my ability to
boxed.
see things from a bigger perspective. The reason I was able to put up Easy Franchise, the reason I'm putting up these other businesses is because I got exposed to so many different things. I get to see, so this is the bigger picture.
A bird's eye view.
Of where you can take different things. So for me, I know I recognize my strengths and my limitations. I'm good at this whole business development angle, coming up with these ideas, putting the people together, getting the right team over there. And I will help run it at first, but eventually if I can find professionals who can take it over, that's the best. Because I have to move on to do the next thing again.
Correct.
So I'm good at that.
That's
what
a
I'm
hustle,
good at.
right?
That's what I'm good at. So knowing those type of things. So like a typical day for me is that, and the other thing also is that it's good health. I think, really.
You're in great shape all the time. I've never seen you with flabs.
Well, right now I'm in better shape than I've been before because I was vegetarian for about 10 years.
Okay.
So an ovo-lacto vegetarian, and I'm also I'm actually a certified Ashtanga yoga trainer.
Wow.
So back in 2004, I got certified to teach primary series Ashtanga yoga.
Oh, wow.
That's Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga, which is it's a flow yoga when you move the whole time, like you do a lot of positions in 45 minutes.
Right.
So it was important for me to be there so that when I was about 10, 12 years ago, I was into all these different things, so I could I had to be very active, and that's.
Though I want to blame you for me.
Energy.
For me, I'm fat. A lot of this is Mercato.
And people are asking how can you stay so thin when you were doing Mercato. Basically, first I was vegetarian, and
Guagua's best. That's my favorite.
Guagua's best, very good. But then the thing is, I couldn't do yoga as regularly as I could before in the past because there's a lot of training that goes into my yoga. Like don't eat 2 hours before this one. It's a very rigorous training. And if all I did was just yoga, that would be fine. So there was a period that I got a bit big. But right now I'm into this thing. It's called metabolic rebooting, and people can ask me more about it.
Metabolic rebooting.
My cholesterol is very high genetically, but my cholesterol is very high. My LDL cholesterol is very high, and I was slightly out of shape. So I was almost pushing 160. I went on this metabolic rebooting diet, and that's a combination of both of diet, Proper diet, not necessarily counting calories, but knowing how to build your plate.
Got
And then some exercise, key exercises.
Which is it like those intermittent, like the Tony Robbins style, or like go intense for like good 7-8 minutes, or?
Well, yeah, there's several. It's a combination, and supplements. So it's basically a unicity thing that I've been doing. And I was doing it more really for the health, and I lost 15 pounds.
15.
And then the first part was actually losing the weight. And then I went on a second part of the program called Body Boost, where now all of a sudden, which was a physique building thing, and I was surprised,
Nice.
So I went to physique building, and for the first time in about forever, I started gaining abs, and I said, "Wow, this is surprising." But then, which is great because I realized that I have more energy to do all this work.
Yes.
And stay sharp. And so it was
I wouldn't
key
be
for me.
surprised if I see you in a magazine with half naked again.
Oh,
Like-
wag na lang. I don't know if my wife would still approve or my kids would still approve. But then, so health was key.
Yeah.
So health was key for me as well. And for me, technology was key as well because
Okay.
right now, everything goes into a Google Calendar.
So it's
It's
programmed.
not me doing everything right now. I have a good support system with my secretary. So all the scheduling she takes care of. So many things that I don't have to, if people ask me about schedules or different things, I just have to pass. I have to learn how to pass on all these different things to her. So my life is basically scheduled from now up to 2 years from now because I do hostings for like weddings and things, and then these are booked.
And you don't want to worry about that anymore.
So
and
it's booked far ahead of time, and I have to give buckets of time. So there are buckets of time for the meetings. So like my secretary knows now, okay, this one, it's free when you can insert something. Just don't book anything in the morning. So parang morning is my time for prayer, for reflection, for exercise. But if I can't do anything, she knows to book at a time. She knows also to book, let's say, for example, preferably in Makati or the BGC area.
Right.
So I don't have to go far.
Yep.
And then I have specific meetings. She knows the buckets of meetings that I have to do so that you can put them all together. So like for me, a typical day would be when I wake up in the morning. It's prayer. It's reflection on the gospel. After that's done, I will do my exercise, whether it's 30 minutes. After that one, it's tuloy-tuloy meetings na yan. I can do different sets of meetings. At the end of the day, it might be a hosting or a taping during that day. So and then at night, that's when all the paperwork gets done. I'm online, or I get to spend some time with the kids. So it's a really long night for me sometimes. First, it's
How much is rest? A big factor.
I get about 6 to 8. As long as I get about 6 to 8
6 to 8,
hours,
you're
sleep,
good.
I'm pretty good.
Okay.
And I like another startup called Xenia.
Oh,
'Cause
Xenia.
You get even late night
Right.
massages, and that's good.
True.
Good for my energy building. And
Naps. Are you a nap kind of guy, or it's like
not,
if it
not
really?
not
Okay,
really.
all right.
I don't take.
So I've
much
seen
naps.
people like hack their day into being a polyphasic.
I don't do the polyphasic. I just do like my
Got it.
my one long sleep
Yeah.
really, and But when it comes to that one, so that my day's balanced. In other words, there's different things that I'm doing because you give some time for opportunity seeking.
Okay.
So that's why I attend networking events. That's why I attend all these things and I do my show because it gives me an opportunity to learn about different things, to meet different people. And one of the people I really admire is people like Josiah Go. Because if you meet Josiah Go,
Josiah, the marketing.
marketing, but he asks great questions, and when he talks
All
to
the
you,
time,
he's
right.
genuinely into what you're trying to do because he wants to learn something from what you're trying to do. And then for me, that's what I saw. Parang sometimes these opportunities, you don't know where it presents itself, so you really have to listen to some people because the opportunity is there. Sometimes you just don't listen to it hard enough. Diba?
I have a Josiah Go story. When I was starting guest list Party File before, it's like in my first year, like barely nothing. I messaged him randomly email. You know what he did? He invited me over to his house in the village. And I can't mention the village. And then when I went there, his whole family is there, and I pitched him. I saw his wife Chicky being there. They were holding a checkbook. They were ready to cut a check. So I pitched my whole thing and all that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it. He said I didn't know what I was doing yet. And that was true. Hindsight
and which is
2020.
great. He's honest, but he helps ask the right questions, not to put
Correct.
you down, but rather to help you better understand what you have to do. And even just recently, he did the same thing to me for Mercato. So it caused me and my wife to reflect on what's our business model, what are we doing, is it the right thing that we're doing? Which is great for any business that you always have to ask yourself that sort of question.
No, but for him to allocate time and even show me to his family.
And that's the value. That's the value of
My
great
God.
that's the value of having great mentors for your business and having people, really great people over there. I'm very happy that he's been very helpful to the growth of Mercato for my
Yes.
business. There's another great thing I also learned from a guy named, I'm sure you all know David Lee Chu, but
Sure.
David really built his business. And
Yeah.
I remember one time he told me, if there's an opportunity, if it's opportunity, let's kill it. Diba? Parang if it moves, let's kill it. So parang it's matter how big or how small, you grab it. Eh.
Yeah.
And I until now I still have that mentality when it comes to hosting things. Parang is it small, is it big? No. I
Seize
might
it.
have to host this one because I might lose that opportunity, or I might have to learn something. But I have to be there. So
Yeah.
there's this constant hunger to always want
Be
to,
there
to,
in
to
the
be there, to
present,
get
be in the
to
moment.
to get an opportunity
Yeah.
for you. I think that's very key,
Okay.
and you can't lose that sense.
Okay.
And for me, it's always that I'm always out there with it's really that entrepreneurial mindset. So when you're
Yeah.
out there, you're always looking for what can I learn? What can I do with this? How
Yep.
how this
Yep.
business is going to work? How's it going to work in my whole ecosystem? And that's how it works
Yeah.
for me the whole time. So, that's why I can look at things and say, so this is what we can do with it. And
Yeah.
up to now, I'm in the process of formulating 3 new businesses in my head.
Wow.
And with other people, and which we've discussed, but because it's something that I've already learned from these previous businesses, which are
Yes.
just iterations or improvements on them, but still they make sense in the overall thematic.
Of course.
They all
Scheme of
relate
things,
together.
right.
And I learned this also from Professor Andy Ferreria, who's my wife's teacher in her
Yes.
Ateneo Masters for Entrepreneurship. That you see many of these big businesses which they seemingly are unrelated, but they actually have a theme that cuts across all of them. Eh?
Yeah.
And I realized that that's the same thing for us. We have one theme that cuts across all of this one.
Right.
And speaking of my wife, I think that's the biggest support system which I've had.
Nice.
If my wife, she recognizes, she supports, and she respects what I do, she loves
Sure.
what I do, so she helps me. If it wasn't for her, I couldn't be the entrepreneur that I am today.
Yeah.
And I also get to expose my kids to the entrepreneurship lifestyle.
Yes.
So they understand
Early, yeah.
what my dad is doing. That daddy sometimes can't be around here because he's working. He's an entrepreneur. He's got to host. And I bring them there so they see that this is what pays for your school. What does this? This is
Yeah.
the hard work that I put. This is the hard work which I put into it. And I want them to also do that
That's
sort
good.
of hard work when they do things. That's why like right now I've had my daughter start doing coding because I
Oh,
want
wow.
her to develop the next $1 billion app and for me to
There
retire
you go.
early. So she
Wow.
recently developed an app. She entered into a contest.
Really?
But it didn't win. But I'm glad because she enjoys she
Scared.
knows the hard work that goes into it. She likes the coding now. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the type of things.
And
which I want to do.
it's a core skill now. You can't be in the 21st century.
Yeah,
not-
exactly. That's how I see it.
Yeah, going
And,
back.
I
like,
wanted to develop other soft skills like
Right.
presentation skills,
Yeah.
like people skills, these
Yeah.
project management skills. I mean, these things will become key as the
True.
21st century comes into play in the fourth
Correct.
industrial revolution.
It's not enough that you know Microsoft Word anymore.
Yeah, it's not enough anymore.
totally
just to
different
have your
ballgame.
your college degree might not be the
No.
college degree of the future. It might not even be a college degree anymore. Diba?
Correct.
So, be different.
Now, RJ, a couple more questions. What's your tip on networking? You've always been around people. How do you maximize your time? You know that there's so many people that you're surrounded with. How do you cut through who matters and
No,
what
I
you
think
get?
that's the thing. Sometimes you can't cut through who matters. It's
Okay.
that sometimes you have to appreciate each person for
God.
whom they
Equally,
are,
right.
because you're learning from everybody. I think that's the humility that you say you have to learn from everybody.
Correct.
Like recently, I had a business opportunity which I came across in my head for a startup a couple of years ago, and I haven't had time to do it, but it recently came back to me again.
Yeah.
Why? Because I learned it from my executive assistant.
Nice.
Now, she was discussing her personal situation with my wife.
Okay.
And I said that was the opportunity I was talking about several years ago. I had to learn from her to understand. So this is what her pain point is. So now I can develop this business. So that's why there are people whom you learn from as mentors, and there are people whom you learn from their situation to address their pain points
Correct.
as well. So. Sometimes if you can make time for people just to listen to their businesses, to listen to what they have to say, I take it. If I can, I'll listen to their pitches. I'll take
Right.
coffee with them, and just join reputable organizations, I
Right.
guess, or net organizations should give it a chance to network. If you're doing JCs, if you're doing
JC,
Rotary Club,
right.
I'm a part of a Rotary Club.
Okay.
It's great that you're there.
Yeah.
And what's very important is to surround yourself with great mentors.
Mentorship.
And like
Yes.
for me, I mean that's why at first one of the reasons I became an entrepreneur in the first place was because of Go Negosyo. At the start, I was
Yes.
actually just a host for Go Negosyo.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
I was so
And now you have the
inspired-
mentor me.
Yeah, I was so inspired by all the people that I had been working with and their example, their grit, and their resilience, and
Yeah.
their innovation. I put up Mercato Centrale. Then eventually, from all that, I
Full-fledged
eventually
entrepreneur as well.
Put my own business because of Mercato. Then I became a mentor. Then I won an award. I presented my award back to Joey because he said, "Joey, thanks so much for putting me through all this
Yeah.
fun, because this is I wouldn't have been the entrepreneur that I am today if you didn't get me exposed in this sort of
Correct.
ecosystem." So you've got good entrepreneurs who can support you and teach you what you need to do to get there, because you're not alone in the entrepreneurship journey. There are other people as well, and I don't want to sound so spiritual or religious, but
Yeah.
but it's very important for me that the spiritual aspect for me is very, very strong.
Nice.
I don't often tell people this one, but I serve very actively in my Catholic church.
Nice.
People surprised. They say, "Weren't you that Eucharistic minister there?
Right.
Weren't you the guy reading at mass?" Yes,
Yeah.
but because that's just part of my DNA growing up. That I was
Okay.
very active, and then I give back. I like to give back to the community. I met my wife in a community called my Catholic community called Single Young Adults. That's where I met my wife.
Wow.
And then today, as part of our marriage, we're active in the Couples for Christ household, and
Oh
right
my
now
gosh! Wow.
I'm in a group called Power Mornings by my
Power
brother,
Mornings.
which is one of the communities under Brother Bo Sanchez, where it's a set of like-minded businessmen, Catholic
Wow.
businessmen. So for me, very nice because it keeps you grounded. It provides you direction.
And balance.
What's your
Yeah.
why? Yeah, what's your why? Like Simon Sinek said, "What's your why in doing business?" That's
What's your why,
that's
RJ?
My why,
Yeah.
my why is that I'm doing business and I'm helping others at the same time. Because if you look at everything I've been doing, basically it's the same story, diba? For Mercato, it's good business for me. It's good business for you. I'm helping
Right.
people grow. Enterprise, I'm helping people grow. Easy Franchise, it's the same thing, diba? And it's been very nice because there have been times when I've been very down, not just spiritual.
Right.
Professionally and emotionally,
Yeah.
that the community has been there for me where I be
And
able
this is
to
your way
share.
trying to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even paying it forward. It's really just because that's essential to who I am. I mean, this is who I define myself as being, diba?
That's awesome.
If I don't have this part, I'm not going to be able to be I can't be a good businessman. This is not there. God is really the center of it all.
That's
That's the
right.
why. That's the why. And everything else just proceeds from that why.
Wow, that is amazing, RJ. Unfortunately, we don't have much time, but please invite them over to the businesses that you guys
Just one
have.
thing, yeah. So first
Yeah.
of all, if you've got a yummy and innovative food concept and you want to be the next big food entrepreneur,
Right.
come over to Mercato. If you listen to this podcast here right now, and you
Right.
say that you listen to this podcast, and you got to the end of this podcast, and you go to Mercato and try out,
Yes.
and you pass, I'll give you 1 month free stay. in the
1
market.
month free exclusively on Hustleshare.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And
right.
after that one, what we do is, like I said, now we've transformed our business into a food business incubator. You stay
Yes.
with us 6 months, you prove that you're good. We will set you up with a restaurant business consultant who will try
Wow.
to improve your business, see how we can scale it up.
Yeah.
And then when we're done with that one, we can sign up an agreement with you. We will look for investors for you. to grow your
Wow,
business,
to scale it.
to scale it, and then we have a shared management company which can run. Because basically, for many of these entrepreneurs who are food,
Of course, they
we
do.
want them to
Yeah.
they don't want to do the day to day because it's the hardest. But they're
Yeah.
very good at R&D, improving their food products,
Correct,
innovating their
correct,
food
correct.
products. So we work together with them, where we take care of their day to day. We take care of their operations,
Nice.
HR training,
Yeah, the stuff that they're not really
finance and
good at
accounting,
yet.
so that
right.
they can stick to what they do best, and
Correct.
we help them grow their business.
Wow.
So that's what we're doing right now with Mercato. And we've got a set of Mercato Centrale investors, which include, of course, Jomag,
And there's a
Potato
lot of-
Corner, Rich Sands
Yeah.
of Bibing Kinitan, currently the
Oh,
president of the
oh,
Philippine
wow.
Franchise Association. We have also Richie Cuna, who was the former president of the Association of Filipino Franchisers.
There you go.
Put up Fior Gelato, Kerwin Tansequiao of Pizza Pedrico.
Wow.
We've got people like Romel Juan Binalo. These are people who are going to invest in your businesses if you're able to prove that it's something that can scale
Correct.
up. So the first step is coming to Mercato with your yummy and innovative dish. But if, let's say, for example, you have a business, you are somebody who wants to franchise a business, looking for business to franchise, visit easyfranchise.com. We have a match me feature over there, so you can match me with your budget, with your desired type.
I'll get my mom there.
Retail, and eventually location as well. Or if you are a business that wants to start franchising, let us know. We can help you as well. Set up your business to franchise, or if you're currently a franchise owner, a franchisor, you have a business that you're franchising and you need more exposure, let us know. It's free listing on the site. So there's a franchise report on the site, and you can list there. You can list there as well.
And for hosting, RJ, if they have an event or whatnot, how do they?
Well, just get in touch with me online. They can check out my website www.rjledesma.com to see my cred for hosting, and just get in touch with me on Facebook or.
And he replies people. He does. Like he though in his very busy time, I don't know how he does it, but he finds time to reply, and I'm nothing but in awe of RJ and his hustle. Thank you very much for your time.
Man.
Thank you so much. And again, this is your your podcast, Hustleshare. Please do, if you like this episode, please do subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and please don't forget to give it that little star. Will help that a lot. All right. Thank you again, RJ.
Thanks, guys.
And welcome to Hustleshare. See you guys in the next episode. Peace.